Today, I really want to talk about Diablo 4 from the perspective of a casual player, pretty much as myself. So, with respect to this video, let's go over the core content, the progression, and what changes I personally think that could maybe be made to make the game feel a little bit better, especially for us players that cannot permanently grind in this game. I would like to start off with the first topic, and that would be world bosses. So for me, world bosses is very exciting to do. I enjoy doing world bosses. The loot is fairly decent, and then for me, the big thing is getting the Tribute of Ascendance, which offers a good chance to drop a mythic unique via the Kurast Undercity. While the loot upgrade is very important, I think adding a little bit more flair into the boss encounter could make this a lot better. I do have an idea is when we do kill the boss that Diablo maybe has some form of on-screen kill effect and pops up a summary of the battle, a quick summary, but very flashy. This could detail the top percentage of damage dealt per player. The pop-up will just have like a little leaderboard maybe, and the top 3 players will be shown there. The top damage dealer, the second top, and the third top, who contributed the most damage, and then you get to show off, having this. I think maybe having a little additional bonus reward if you are the top damage dealer, which gives you a little bit more of an incentive to continuously do boss runs, and it gives you that copium moment as well. It'll also be a nice little cool moment of recognition, even for us casuals. Let's just say we do earn the top rank of killing the boss for that moment, then yeah, it's going to be nice to see your name pop up there on the first, second, or third. That's just that copium moment, then you get to celebrate this achievement. I think this could make the world bosses feel a lot more fun to do, a lot more dynamic, and of course having that on-screen effect could genuinely just spice it up significantly more. So over to pit runs. So pit runs obviously is one of the most important activities to do in your character progression. That is obviously largely due to leveling up our glyphs and getting the XP grind. So personally, I really do like playing the pits. The pits can very quickly become very, very repetitive. So for me, one basic solution, which has been mentioned actually quite a lot already throughout Diablo's lifespan, would of course be pit run leaderboards. Whether we are a casual player or a blaster, I think there must be a balance here, especially as casual players will not always have that moment to be able to be on the leaderboard. So in trying to combat this, I do have an idea of having 2 separate leaderboards. Now, the first leaderboard is going to be the quote-unquote casual leaderboard, where the leaderboard will function as every other leaderboard. This will be for players who are Paragon 260 and below. All players lower than Paragon 260 will be classified for this leaderboard. And then, of course, we will have the elite leaderboard, and this will be for all players that is above Paragon 260. This will, of course, be a nice little fair and different leaderboard, which can entertain having the casual players who do not have unlimited time to enjoy getting onto a leaderboard, and then it will not penalize all the blasters that really are efficient in the game. They will get to have a challenge in pushing the elite leaderboard for keeping them engaged as well. So for me, that could be a best of both worlds type of scenario. So in addition, this could create a natural incentive, especially for casual players who now might feel motivated to actually want to push past Paragon 260. Again, I say that number can be changed. I do think additionally in these pits, maybe they should implement some form of little mini events that could spice up the reward. The pits, again, is very repetitive. It could maybe just be unique to the pit, so it doesn't maybe overlap with what Infernal Hordes or Nightmare Dungeons would do. I think if Blizzard could maybe implement or refine some of these aspects, the pits could feel a lot more dynamic and engaging, rather than just endlessly blind farming for experience and glyph upgrades. Over to Nightmare Dungeons. Of course, with Season 9 on the horizon, Blizzard has been hinting at a mega change into the whole loop of Nightmare Dungeons. So I am excited on the possibility of the upcoming dungeon escalation system. This could introduce the dungeon to be completely different from what we are used to. So yeah, I do hope, and I am very optimistic of what Blizzard has in store on Season 9. And so Blizzard, we're holding our thumbs with regards to this. So, over to Infernal Hordes. And me personally, I really do enjoy doing Infernal Hordes. I do see on the roadmap that there is something that they have coming for Infernal Hordes. So obviously we must keep this in mind for everything I'm about to say now, that there might be some mega changes coming maybe at Season 10 or whatever the case may be. So for me, first things first is the visual diversity as of right now. Infernal Hordes for me is just locked into this red hellfire aesthetic, not as visually stimulating as it could be, because obviously it's the same visuals that you're always taking in, and it can get very, very boring quickly. So I am just saying, imagine if there was 3 different element versions of the Infernal Horde. For example, we have the fire, which is this one, which is the existing version, which is the fire variant. We have an icy variant, which then runs with like ice-related monsters and a whole ice-themed little map. The zone can be the exact same. Maybe a poison zone as well, which has got poison affixes and maybe pools of damage over time poisons. And then your boons and banes could be perhaps tailored towards each specific element type, and just to create a different. The rewards can remain the exact same, no difference to the rewards, but just that would change the visual stimulation that we do get through Infernal Hordes and just keep us a bit more engaged just with pure visuals alone. Over to the wave adjustments of Infernal Horde. I personally think that right now this wave count could be tweaked completely. The waves should always be kept, for example, at only 8 waves. But big change what I want to have is we could have like a new, after you complete the 8 waves, a new sudden death mode. What this would entail, it is after you finish your 8th wave, before you go to the Infernal Horde Council, you can choose to go into sudden death mode, which you will get 2 additional waves to fight. Now, these 2 additional waves could be insanely more difficult, but the reward for surviving this and completing the council thereafter could be a significant amount of ether multiplication, maybe in addition a greater gear chest, a whole bunch more obdusites, gem fragments, and more gold. So, as we say, the optional difficulty spike would give us that high risk, high reward gameplay. This will just give us a little bit more control and diversity into what we are doing with Infernal Hordes. Over to another big elephant in my seasons, and that is our famous tempering system. So tempering is one of the most impactful mechanics in Diablo 4, and I really love the idea of tempering, just not the execution. Really one of the most frustrating systems when things go wrong, especially when we break a really good piece of gear. So for me, one of the biggest improvements that really needs to be made is giving the player more control over our tempers. I think a simple but effective change would obviously just be to allow the players to keep the current temper when re-rolling for a higher stat. This is similar to how the Oculist works when we re-roll for affixes. So right now, we are just gambling everything when attempting to re-roll, which leads to situations where you risk ruining a perfectly viable piece of gear. To my next major pain point in tempering, it is the scrolls of restoration being a single use only. So what could be a better approach to this whole scroll of restoration? I personally think is that the scrolls of restoration can have unlimited uses per items, but with a scaling penalty. Consider this. Every single time that we use the scroll of restoration, the number of tempering chances gets decreased by 2, down to a minimum of 2 attempts. The material cost will increase slightly with each time you use the scroll of restoration, ensuring that us players do need to continuously farm for the scrolls and the materials for higher quality tempers, because there must be a penalty and a balance when it comes to this little system. I think this system could keep all our items relevant without letting the players, of course, abuse tempering endlessly. It will, of course, prevent the items from becoming completely bricked while still making the players earn the best stats through, obviously, dedicated farming. I think this quality of life improvement would just make tempering feel so much better with more progression and not a frustrating RNG trap. Over to masterworking, and how can we refine this RNG and this reset control? Because masterworking is genuinely one of the most rewarding ways to push our gear to their peak. But taking as a casual player, and it's very similar to how tempering is, the randomness and RNG is really brutal. It can really feel disheartening when masterworking fails to land on the stats we need and then to do a full reset. I think a simple but effective change could be just to allow the players to choose how far back we want to reset our masterworking ranks, rather than us completely wiping everything and start back at rank 0. I think the new reset system could offer 3 options as follows. You would still get our full reset, which is like this, where you reset your rank back down to rank 0. This would be the same amount of materials and low material cost to do. For example, we'll have a rank 4 reset, which will keep your rank 4 progression, but then the resource cost would be obviously considerably more higher to do. And then a rank 8 reset, which will preserve your 2 crits that you got. And let's say you got your 2 stats that you were looking for, but you missed it on the 12th one. You can go back down to rank 8. But my personal opinion is that the material cost should be significantly higher to ensure that there is good balance and fairness. I think this system would ensure that the players do have a lot more control over our progression while keeping the masterworking RNG still meaningful and similar to what it currently is. Over to my final topic, and that is the build meta, the problem with underused abilities. For me personally, one of the biggest issues in Diablo 4 right now is the lack of diversity in viable builds for endgame content. Many of the abilities across all classes will see little to almost no use because they simply just do not hold up in any high tier content. I'm not saying that everything should be buffed obviously into S tier dominance, but I think personally that having a wide variety of viable endgame builds across all characters would just make this game so much more enjoyable. We could finally see a lot more playstyles tailored to personal player preference rather than you being forced into playing the meta builds. If this is done correctly, this would rather increase the player engagement, especially for me as a casual player, to make more build crafting exciting and of course improve the overall enjoyment of the game. But I just do not want to always be forced into using the build meta, aka this Death Trap Rogue, it's super fun by the way, and I'm having a blast on it. So what is my final thought here? It is build diversity will sincerely equal a better game. So with these potential different changes, I think that could just spice up the game. And of course, there is so much more that we can speak about when it comes to potential changes into this game. So if you have any ideas, hey, feel free from a casual's perspective. Let me know in the comments and we can maybe have a nice discussion of it. Because in saying that, I just give a little piece about myself. I am a South African little streamer who's very new into this space. We've got a very small but a super amazing community that's already following and having a great time. We like playing all different types of content and just having a good time, having a good laugh, and obviously trying to make the best of what we currently have in the game. We have a small Discord channel. There's not a lot of legends there, but I can tell you one thing, that everybody that is there are super awesome. So if you want to give me a follow and come and pop around the Discord or pop around on the live streams, it would be amazing to chat to you. I really enjoy all my time with anyone we get. So yes, there you go guys. That is my thought process. I really hope that you have a fantastic day, and Skinner out.